Good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to QuickBooks Labs panel show. We are the place for you to understand QuickBooks Online that little bit better. We invite the best minds in the industry we can find. So these are guys that I ended up with, and we aim to go live each and every month as close to Wednesday as we can. Although I think we're changing that as we go along, and we hang around these microphones to talk about all the latest news on tips, tricks, and quicks in the world of accounting. And boy, do we have some stuff to talk about, because today, of all days, it was QuickBooks Get Connected. Did I get that right this time around? I think I did. QuickBooks Get Connected. So I'm one of your hosts, Aaron Patrick, a chartered accountant, the owner of an accounting firm called Boffix, a QuickBooks certified trainer with fancy logo, and that QuickBooks chap on YouTube. And join me is my panel of experts. I have the returning, the one and only, the co-host, Mr. Ash Beeston. Ash, welcome back.
Hi, Aaron. Nice to be back. Yeah, Ash Beeston, bookkeeper / accountant / software developer, co-founder of NetTracker. Yeah, lovely to be here.
Glad to have you. And Johann, we have Mr. LinkedIn himself.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Johann, Group Managing Director of On Point Accounting, co-host of Ask the Accountant podcast with Mr. Aaron Patrick himself, and general QuickBooks enthusiast and strategic partner for QuickBooks, I should add.
Ooh, more on that later, because you appear, don't you, in the little strategic partner video? We'll show you that in a moment.
Do I? I missed that.
Oh, it's just a little logo. That's right. Not like last time where you got a proper shout out, but no, there was a little logo for you. So we have a cracker. We're live to the world regular time of 4:30. Well, it's 5 o'clock at this point in time. And we'll be on the podcast services of choice. Remember, if you've got any questions, don't forget to use the question box. Send us some questions. We've already got people saluting the fact that Ash is back. So thank you for that, Kirsty. And Andy's there as well. Is this a Liz Truss special? Well, you know, it'd be a short episode if it was, wasn't it? And at that point, so
1 minute for every day of power.
What we got today, so we're going to be talking mainly 100% about QuickBooks Get Connected, but we do have a few product announcements to sprinkle at the end. One I'm very excited about, which I'm surprised didn't end on, but yeah, we'll see how that one goes. And one that I think is finally, we moaned enough and we got some update there as we needed. So let's get, first of all, straight to QuickBooks Get Connected. I know, Ash, you weren't able to see all of it, were you? But you got to see the towards the end. Yeah, and I gather you kind of just jumped in and out as you could. What's your overall kind of opinion on it so far? What's your first kind of takeaways? Who wants to go first?
Ash, after you.
Yeah, so as you say, Aaron, I've missed probably a good 70% of it because I was running a QuickBooks core certification course. It seems every time they run an event, I'm doing some training. So I did sort of catch some of the QuickBooks Advanced. We sort of looked at that. I think we weren't really sold on that. I think they needed you in there, Aaron, to advertise the features a little bit better. But yeah, from what I saw, so it was fairly informative. That there was a small chunk, and then I had to dash away just before it ended because I had to pick my daughter up from the bus station, so I couldn't catch the end either on that one, unfortunately.
No problem. Johann, what are you thinking about it?
Yeah, I mean, I had it on in the background all day. So when I wasn't screaming down the phone at staff members for a few issues we've had today, I was listening to it. Yeah, I think it reinforces everything we were told back in March, doesn't it? Maybe a few name changes, maybe a few feature changes, a few changes to dates on the roadmap. I think, yeah, it did feel like Aaron and myself knew more about the advanced product than perhaps the person delivering the advanced product session, bless him. But and if you want to know more, there's some fantastic videos on social media from myself today and yesterday, courtesy of QuickBooks Filming Crew. And I believe there'll be some next week from the QuickBooks chap himself. But yeah, it summarized what we here knew was out there really and was coming. But judging by the comments and stuff, there was plenty of people where it was all very new to them. And, maybe I always get annoyed with these events, like, come on, tell us something new. But actually, for a lot of the audience of QuickBooks, it was a lot of new stuff today. There was a lot of people out there saying, oh, working papers. Now, that's been there a year and plus now, but for them, it's still a new discovery. So, yeah, for them, it's probably been quite a magical day today. For us, it's been a bit of a affirmation of what we already knew, really.
Yeah, I think you've absolutely spot on there. This replaced the old, let's get the phrase right. It was not workshop, was it? But when they used to go around the UK and they used to do their little regional ones, it was Birmingham.
Roadshow type thing.
Roadshow, that's the one, yeah. So this will never be, or never designed to be, kind of the big conference that they have in March. It is designed to be a smaller event, and especially this time around, it was a closed shop, wasn't it? There was very few people outside of Intuit that was actually involved in this one, which is fair enough, and that's how it was. But a little glimmer of hope for me. I'll always remember one roadshow we went to where they announced their integration with Go Cardless, and that was one of the biggest game changers we've had with QuickBooks for a long time. It was, it was literally walking away from there thinking I've just saved myself 60 hours a month or whatever the number was, in having to do Go Cardless integration and having that done. So there was a bit of me that was kind of excited about possibly of an announcement of something. We heard rumors, didn't we, of a particular partner that could have been announced, or there was rumors coming through from there. So I was hoping for something, but you're right, this is all about making sure people are reinforced on what is in QuickBooks now, giving me a little bit of glimpse of future of stuff. I mean, we heard the phrase MTD a few times. I don't know if you guys picked up on it, but that was mentioned once or twice.
Get mentioned.
Yeah, and they showed this one it's one graphic on probably 4 out of the however many ones there was, and it was the timeline of MTD and what it was. In fact, as we go through, because I'll put up on screen a bit stuff to like talking points and stuff. Yeah, we went through it a few times. So yeah, that's unfortunately that's what we're at the moment, isn't it? Everyone's talking about MTD, everyone's worried about it and confused about it and everything else. So we've just got to take that on the chin. But yeah, overall, I think it was I went through my feedback. Hopefully everyone put their feedback in as well. It's going to be very important for future events. I know me and Ash are very passionate about feedback based on what we get for our training and everything. But I did put on the feedback how important, or how it was a good session, not a great session, but I think we just take what we can at this point in time.
Yeah.
Any other parts before we kind of go through what was announced or what was talked about?
I mean, I live in Edinburgh now, so it wouldn't have been any travel for me to have gone to the Edinburgh Roadshow if they'd done one in Edinburgh. And it meant I wouldn't have had to buy my own coffees and bacon roll this morning. So, I missed out on that. Of course, the networking opportunity that these things bring. So I'd like to think they would bring this back in person. I was looking at the live tracker that shows you how many people are watching at any time, and they had between 400 and 500 people at any time throughout the day, which I thought was quite good. Those numbers were certainly higher than they were last October when they did it, and the afternoon sessions attracted about 100 people. But yeah, I think I'd have preferred in person. But at the same time, would I have wanted to travel that far to get those bulletins? I don't know. So yeah, mixed views.
Yeah, I agree, and that sometimes, especially over the last couple of years, we get a bit, just drained of, I know we're doing a sort of a webinar thing at the moment, but you can just get too much of it, can't you? You just think, I want to see someone in real life. And a couple of days ago, someone asked me to give them some QuickBooks help, and I was thinking, do I really, and they wanted me to see them in person, and I'm thinking, it's so much easier if I just do it live, over Zoom. And then when I actually went to visit them, I loved it, and I thought, God, I just missed actually talking to somebody and showing them how to do something. So there is something to be said for actually, just chatting to someone and they're that, you're next door to them, as opposed to, because it's so easy, isn't it, to switch off, especially, if there could have been 100 people attending, but how much notice are they actually taking? Because if it's just on in the background and you're doing other stuff, then you might not really be watching it fully.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a prime example of that. I I was in and out of it throughout the day. The mute button got pressed continuously while I was taking calls and stuff, and I wouldn't have taken those calls or been disturbed and distracted if that was an in-person event, because I turn up and the phone goes on to do not disturb. Is that me? Maybe I need to be better disciplined when these webinars are happening, or do I just want an in-person event? Probably just want an in-person event.
Yeah, I suppose the only counter to that is the last couple of in-person events we've been to. We've not been to any of the talks or anything. We've just been mooching around the room and doing our networking and talking to the partners and everything else. So it's almost like they've got to find a way of getting it so that we still get those good, chatty bits and everything else. I think that's where QuickBooks, the main event, does work, doesn't it? Because it forces you, they just close off the floor, don't they? And everyone's forced into that room. You have to go for that first keynote, and you have to go for that second, final keynote as well. So hopefully when they go back to in person, we'll kind of get that perfect hybrid of making sure we get the data we need and get the information we need, whereas we still have the benefits of having the talking to each other. Awesome. All right, let's go through then kind of what they talked about. So this is what I meant by strategic partners. Gets their little moment in the sun just there. But this is what was going to be involved in. So Nick started the show off talking about how it was going to be about QB Connect. QuickBooks Advanced was going to be a big part of it. And then they wanted to kind of lean on strategic partners and what they've learned from strategic partners and from that benefit going forward. They kind of then went into the agenda of what they really wanted to get out of it from MTD ITSA. This to me was kind of one of those ones where I was a little bit kind of confused that here's the roadmap yet again. I was a little bit confused about like where they were trying to bring this one, because this was supposed to be about how you as a practice was going to be ready for it, and kind of giving us tools and stuff. I don't know. Is it just me, or are they kind of flogging almost a dead horse on the fact they're trying to get the practice? And because it's not really, unless we see the product and what the product can do, it's not really anything else they can help me with at this point. I mean, all it shows me is there is the QBOA area is just not ready for it. So at all, there's not giving us enough information. We don't have what we need to be able to service our clients at this point in time. So I just, that's my kind of feel on it. What would everyone else kind of say about getting the practice ready as a talking point?
I think they had an attempt. They had people in from HMRC who aren't, let's face it, HMRC people aren't normally the most charismatic people in the world, but they answered the questions well. They delivered the information fairly well. But again, I think what information HMRC have is limited because they haven't really finalized it all yet. And I think QuickBooks didn't really have a choice but to tackle MTD ITSA on this one. We saw it, XeroCon, it was a big target subject. And Sage are out doing a huge roadshow across the UK. Sole target is MTD ITSA. Now, have Xero or Sage got any further down their product roadmap and developing and releasing options to be ready for that change than QuickBooks? Probably not, from what I've seen. They're as far away from being ready as QuickBooks are. So I don't think they're behind or anything, and ultimately we are still talking a year and a bit away, 500 and something days away, less if you look at working days. But I think they're trying to reassure, as all of the software vendors are at this moment in time, like Free Agent are doing a big thing on it as well, that we are putting all of our effort and resources into this to be ready for it. Don't move away just because others are saying they're ready, whereas we are as ready as they are. And we are trying to get you the information that we need to from HMRC, because HMRC aren't going to come to you directly with it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Ash, do you think that, what was it, 3 out of 5? So 50% of the coverage today was all based on ITSA. Do you think that's what we needed to know at this point, or do you think that's overkill?
Yeah, funny. Well, I think it's very important, and I can sort of see what they're and like all the software providers are going to say, okay, yeah, we're going to be here, and we'll have you back, and don't worry about it too much. In a little sense, don't worry about it. But in one say, don't worry, that we will be there and have the tools that you need. But I'd also say, yes, do worry a little bit, because let's say that you've got, I don't know, 100. Let's say you've got 50 clients. And we could be on your, working on your own like I was, and I had 50 clients. They could all be 50 clients, and they could all be sole traders. And let's say out of my 50, well, I was not like this at all, because I've just been, using cloud accounting software for years. But there are some firms that could have 50 sole trader clients, and they're all, they could be using spreadsheets or something else, and you don't hear from them for 12 months, and all of a sudden they turn up and say, I've got my spreadsheets, or I've got a bunch of receipts, and here you go, do my accounts. Well, basically, in some instances, they'll probably much do 12 months worth of bookkeeping with the bank statements and the receipts, and then the 12 months worth of bookkeeping, possibly on the software that they might be using their own QuickBooks license, and then doing it. Well, that's fine now, but that's not going to work in 18 months. So you're going to have to start thinking, okay, my client that I only do things once a year for, I'm going to have to start looking at some of these and thinking, well, all right, I've got to get that client on board, because at the moment I'm doing all their bookkeeping for them once a year. They're going to have to start doing something, or I'm going to have to start charging them more, because I'm going to be doing stuff every 3 months or so. So it is important, I think, because I can see people are going to leave it, think it's all right, I've got a year. That's all right, I've got another 8 months. And then all of a sudden there'll be this, oh my God, I don't know what to do. And I know what will happen, or I'll say I know what will happen. I think possibly there'll be some accountants saying to their client or clients, I'm really sorry, I'm not going to be able to support you on this.
Yeah.
And it'll be, you'll have to go and find someone else.
Yeah.
That would be a bit of a worry to me.
The thing is, all of those habits and systems you can put in place today with those clients.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What QuickBooks, Sage, Xero, Free Agent all actually doing at the moment is saying, look, if you use our tools now, you start changing these behaviors now, we're reassuring you today that these are the products we're building, so that if you start this work now and get your clients in line, we will have these tools ready for that. Don't wait for us. This is what's coming up. This is a taste of it. If that works for you, get your clients on board now.
But as devil's advocate, though, isn't account at the moment, like, I mean, Andy said here, and so's Chariot said here, like 500 clients and 500 and this and everything else. Isn't our job at this point in time to go, right, let's assess what's out there and try and find the best software for the best clients? So
yeah, and I think that's why they're all drumming the drum.
Agreed, but then we need to see what the product looks like, don't we? And it's not just what the product looks like from the client's point of view. We've still yet to be seeing what support the accountants are going to get for doing this work, in terms of, let's have a screen where we can see what clients have filed and haven't filed. At the moment, there is no way of seeing that information unless you use, Client Engager or something like that, where you're manually having to do it, because QuickBooks won't give them the API to let it update itself. Or whatever solution, or even an Excel document, whatever solution as an accounting firm you're using, I think that's the secret sauce. We've got to empower the accountant so that we can get this work done. And it seems to be a lot of, well, this is what MTD is and this is what it will do, and the product will look great, and it'll look, and we'll come on to it. The product looks wicked. Like QuickBooks approach to MTD, I think is going to be really, really popular. I still think, like, to sell it to us, or not even to us because we've already bought in, but to sell it to the others, don't they need to be showing, well, this is how we're going to support you further. This is the secret sauce. This is your practice management-esque solution within QuickBooks QBOA.
I'll play devil's advocate to that. Is that QuickBooks and Xero's job, or is that HMRC's job? So
yeah, true.
Client Engager, accountancy manager, etc., have to build different APIs to speak to Xero, Sage, QuickBooks free agent to pull through who has and hasn't filed? Or should HMRC's API that already tells QuickBooks Sage and Co. which account VAT returns have filed, it tells them which dates they're looking for. Should the client engagers of the world and the accountancy managers of the world not be able to link into HMRC and pull that information through to verify their task list against, in the same way we can verify companies' year-end accounts against Companies House?
Yeah, spot on. But I suppose the only thing is how far that only tells you one thing: it's filed or not filed. And I suppose for the majority of it, that's all you'll ever need. But what about, or the bank's disconnected off here, or this person has, not got any data in there whatsoever. There's that health check that we keep like talking about. Like, where is that? Like, why can't we get access to that? And I think for me, that's if they're going to be selling me this product now, that's what I want to see. I want to know that whatever software I go with are going to support me as the accountant for this extra work that we've all been told about and scared to death of and everything else. We can deal with that if we have the tools to deal with it. What do you think, Ash? Do you think there's from that point of view, do you think there's that sort of thing that QuickBooks would ever, or any of them would ever give you access to be able to build that?
Well, this is a difficult one, but I think what it is, it's actually changed. It's having to change the mindset of a lot of people. Not probably so much the accountants, but actually more of the business owners themselves, that at the moment are just quite happy plodding along, doing what they do because they do their job work very well. It could be a plumber, whatever they do. Don't really worry about their accounts too much. They probably send an invoice off and then get paid, and then they carry on. They're going to have to change the way they do their stuff every day, every month, and that the accountants might get a bit of a hard time from their client, but at the same time, the accountants are going to say, well, this isn't my doing. This is a new HMRC requirement. So you're going to have to change the way you do something. Now, we can either employ a load of bookkeepers, or you can go and find a bookkeeper that is going to do all this stuff for you. And that's going to have a cost to it. Yeah. Or you're going to have to start learning how to use some of these tools yourself. If you're quite small, you're going to have to, so from the key bookkeeping fundamentals of whether you're using QuickBooks Xero or Sage, forget the Making Tax Digital stuff. They just need to basically learn some key bookkeeping things, and whether that's just raising their invoice and getting their bank connected in there to begin with, and then taking the pictures of their receipts, that will be the step, their sort of next step forward. So it's a difficult one. Does a bookkeeper, or not bookkeeper, does a business owner want to start having to pay for more things? I think it's going to be inevitable. I don't think they're going to have a choice, really. Accountants can't just take all this extra stuff on for no more fee. It is really, I don't know what the right answer is, and I wish I did.
One of the first things that HMRC on today's session said was, we accept and acknowledge that this is the biggest change since self-assessment first came in.
Yeah.
So they acknowledge it, they accept it, but then they're leaning on us as accountants and bookkeepers and accounting software providers to educate the general public, because there's absolutely no awareness campaign from HMRC to the general public. At the moment, this just looks like it's an accounting and software swindle to try and make more money out of the business owners, when actually we all know it's coming from the powers to be. Like HMRC, I've seen more emails and content from them about MTD VAT since it became mandated for everyone than I did in any of the build-up. Like, they've got it. They only campaign about it and spend money and advertise and educators on it when it's already law.
Yeah.
And
their argument is, well, we'll put banners in the product, or we'll put banners on because they mentioned about this whole banner that's been there forever about the fact that MTD for VAT is closing on this date or whatever. But it's like, that's not advertising, is it? That's only to people who are already using the solution and happy with it. We've got plenty of clients on our end alone who are stuck. And you're right, because this idea here, 80% of MTD it's an opportunity. So the negativity is it is looking like it's us as the accountants that are trying to earn from it and everything else, where that's not the case at all. I suppose my final point before we move on in this is like I still wish there was any other software would just jump on trying to help us, the accountants, like help us one way or another. If you've got 500, like Andy's saying here, and again Chariot's saying here, you've got 500 clients to do each and every quarter. Well, why can't we get the approval through the software? Why do we have to take 500 of them to go to Adobe or Adobe Sign or DocuSign or whatever solution you're going to use to sign, take it from there to get signed to come back again? Something as simple as an approval solution within a product. Well, that's saved me.
Said they were doing that.
They have, but where was that being shown? That would sell the product. That is the bit that they
focus is on these APIs, isn't it? And the link to HMRC. It's like, well, that's a given. Actually, show us this document signing process. Show us the mock-ups of before the pressing that button. Like that's. Now, I say it's a given that they're going to have a button to submit, but we've recently realised that's not a given after the books to tax fiasco. But we get you're going to file to HMRC. We get that you're going to pull in this information to here. But actually, as you're saying, Aaron, where is the more valuable information for us today would have been, here's how you're going to send approval, and this is how the client experience is going to be for approving it. Yep. Here's how you're going to see who hasn't yet filed and who you need to chase, etc.
Exactly. Yeah. Because at that point, then we go, right, let's move those clients who are on paper to QuickBooks, because QuickBooks is going to save me time.
Yep.
Let's invest in that. At the moment, I'm still thinking, is QuickBooks right for them, certain clients? Should I be thinking about someone else for them? And
are you really?
Wow. Like, honestly, I won't. But I can threaten to go somewhere else.
Like Dext is in alpha testing of MTD ITSA solution.
Really? Yeah.
Now, I've not seen it. I've asked to see it. So I don't quite know where they think they sit in this scenario and who they're bypassing. But yeah, there's players out there coming out of the woodwork that you perhaps wouldn't have considered previously.
Yeah.
So there's obviously seen as an opportunity here by many software providers, not just your standard bookkeeping solutions.
Yeah, well, I get that makes sense, Johann. Perhaps with Dext, where you do have, some businesses that could be pretty small, and they just want to stick their receipts in, and perhaps go through their bank statement or whatever just to record their income, and it's there.
Like QuickBooks Self-Employed.
Yeah, very similar.
Don't swear on this show.
Sorry.
No, you're right, Ash, and we've said before, haven't we, Ash? Like way back when, it's like your Starlings and your Tides and your Evolutes, they're just going to bring a solution out that's just part of their bank account, and it will file MTD, and
counting up.
Yeah,
it's been their goal from day one.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, well, yeah, but we as the accountants, we should be the ones that figuring out now what software we're going to be with and what's going to be. You're right. I'm already on board. I'm sold, but there's a lot out there who aren't sold, and that's what they need to target, in my opinion. Okay, cool. So they spent a time going through how to prepare your firm, which I think is a valid point. But again, where's that extra bit to say why we should be using it? And tell them what software to use. And as you can see there, Self-Employed is actually still alive. It is kicking. It was mentioned more than one occasion. And I did find this a bit weird. They were talking about bridging software here, but unsure. Then in another one, they were saying bridging software is definitely going to be there. Then HMRC, they're not quite sure on bridging software yet. And then another one was like, yeah, we're definitely doing bridging software. And so who knows about bridging software? It's still I think
HMRC don't want to do bridging software. No. But if it's anything like the MTD VAT debacle, they'll have to accept bridging software because they've not helped us to convince all of our clients onto cloud software.
Yeah.
And that, bridging software was only meant to be there for the first year. Now they've said it's indefinite when they're not sure when they're going to ban that. for VAT. So it's like, well, you're making it too easy. You're not forcing people to change.
Yeah. Because when's NetTracker going to do a bridging software solution for MTD service? Is that on the pipeline?
No, don't worry. I won't be looking at tax at all.
I mean, but you've got all the skills and expertise to do it. It's that's probably where HMRC don't want it to be, doesn't it? That anyone just creates whatever as a solution. It's down to that, isn't it? HMRC then started and brought the same thing that we've already seen once before, but in a slightly different way, and hidden a few things because they're not 100% sure if the pilot at scale is going to be 2023 or not. Is that to protect them for next year when they can use it again and say, look, we told you it wasn't going to happen. It wasn't actually we did it in dots and not into the real thing. Then they went through the late penalty ones, and then they talked about the quarterly updates. They did say wholeheartedly that one, they appreciate the fact that 31st of March is going to be a thing, and that's something that is a whole different talking point, but they're going to make sure that that's under consideration and that'll be done. But they also said that they do not want people just filing estimates and then changing it, which I think we all knew was going to be the case. But yeah, they keep reinforcing that one. I wish they'd changed EOPS into something a bit different, because I keep thinking of EPOS and thinking now that's going to this earnings of I forgot what it actually stands for now, but yeah, the earnings statement that they want us to send in. And then finally we get to the good stuff, Jonathan Valentine. So before we move off, well, there's a little bit more on what it looks like. Is there anything kind of Ash, you didn't even see the first bit, but Johann, is there anything else kind of we should have talked about from that first bit? And there was a speaker, wasn't there, and all that sort of stuff.
I think we've covered the majority of it. Ultimately, all the accounting softwares are fully aware of this. They've already worked out how they're going to file into HMRC. They're now going through the approval stage of getting certified by HMRC and getting their first tests through. And Simon from Broadbent has been doing an absolutely sterling job with QuickBooks, testing multiple clients for it, for MTD. And it's all gone well from what I've heard and seen from Simon, which gives me assurance that that bit works.
Yeah.
The filing of it works. That's great. That's fine. Do I want to monitor I don't know. I've not really thought through that level of detail, the process detail that you're thinking through, Aaron, of the tasks of who hasn't filed and the approvals process, etc. I suppose I've always gone on the assumption we're taking whatever we're doing for year-end accounts and our annual statement, as it were, for a tax return, and just multiplying that by 4, and then, I don't know, dropping some of the procedure because it's not quite, I know we're not allowed to call it an estimate, but it's an estimate. Because ultimately, regardless of what we tell them each quarter, the gospel bit, the bit they're going to bill their tax bills on, is that year-end summary filing, which is also where you're going to have your PAYE, your dividends, and all of that other stuff is going on that. I do wonder if people are getting a bit, I could get myself into trouble here. Are people overreacting to the fact that we've got to file 4 estimate figures a year for income and outgoings, when actually they're not having bills raised on this? It's not dictating payments on account.
No.
It is, at this moment in time, provisional information to guide HMRC on what to expect when we file that year-end summary. Now, there could be loads of people, assuming we've got a huge audience right now, shouting at me, telling me I've completely underestimated this and completely got this wrong. But, while HMRC can't even automatically set up a new VAT registration with MTD set up in it, and we have to register a client and then register them from MTD, I'm not worried about them holding us to account on these figures on day one.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I read somewhere, I may have misread or misinterpreted what I read on an article, is that, let's say we make a submission, submission number 1, that could trigger an email back to the client, the individual, of what their tax estimate is.
Yep.
So,
but it's not a bill.
Pardon? It's not real.
It's not a bill. It's
no,
not.
It's not a bill. Well, let's say it's an so you've done your first quarter, and they get an estimate of what their tax is likely to be, and you do another email 3 months later, they get another estimate of what their tax. So they're starting to get an idea. This is what my tax is going to be. My tax should be around this figure. And then what happens is you've done your 4. Then if you do a final and you've done loads of adjustments and it goes the wrong way because that client has now got a final bill and it's absolutely nothing like the estimates they've had, that would be my concern.
But that's where you just put on that email saying, based on the information you have provided us to date.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and we can refile quarters as often as we need to. Outside once it's filed, like we can resubmit if we get new information.
Yeah.
The quote from HMRC though is it was this lady who was saying it. I forget her name, and she's been on loads of stuff, so apologies. But the quote from her was, "It's not in the spirit of MTD for it to be posting stuff that then gets changed later down the line to inaccurate or estimates or however you want to call it. It's not in the spirit of MTD.
It's not in the spirit of customer service to leave me on the phone for 55 minutes on hold waiting for you to answer and then hang up on me. But you do it, HMRC." So yeah, you get into the spirit of customer service. I'll get into the spirit of MTD itself.
Exactly right. Okay, let's get to the meat of it then. The bits that got us all excited, because Jonathan Valentine came on, and big respect to Jonathan. I think he's doing a great job over there. So first of all, which was an odd one, he showed the flaw of QuickBooks Online Accountant at this point in time. The fact it doesn't tell us anything. This feature here should be amazing, this books review feature. But unfortunately, it is still something that is very difficult, especially got lots of clients to actually utilize and make the most of. And there's still more data it could tell us. It's only really telling us if the books reviews started or not started. But again, I think it's very much what you're saying, isn't it, Johann, to the fact that most people didn't even know this exists. That's why they're bringing it up in this part.
I mean, look, I'll tell you an embarrassing story, gentlemen. I was sat at QuickBooks head office in June this year, sat there, and they showed this screen, and I went, hang on a minute, what's this screen? They showed me something I didn't know existed in QuickBooks. And it's because every time I open QuickBooks, it goes onto the overview tab, not the bookkeeping tab. And I've never thought to click on the bookkeeping tab. Which shows...
We showed it in core. I'm trying to think to the training point of view when we brought it in. So people like yourself would have missed it completely.
Yep.
Didn't we do it in the first recertification, Ash? I know I fought for it to be in there, but I don't remember.
I think we did do it in recertification. We might have flipped between the two.
Yeah. And I've done a few videos on it, but I know you can't watch every single video that I do. But yeah, that's interesting. Missed it.
We can't retain all that information and knowledge.
But that is really interesting that you yourself didn't know about that one, because and that's why, because people like yourself don't know it and don't use it, that it doesn't get the love it needs in terms of development, in terms of what it could have been. Well, it's very much a case of, and they'll admit this a lot, it's is it minimal viable product? That's the phrase, isn't it? They'll put something out there and it looks brilliant, looks shiny, looks wonderful. But if not enough people to put traction, if not enough clicks go on it, with the heat maps and everything else, if that doesn't happen, it doesn't go any further than that. And that's a shame, because I think that's what's happened here. Not enough people know about it.
As I said to the developers around the table at the time in that meeting, once I'd calmed down that I didn't know about something, so I then, as you do with all anger, you deflect. So I then pointed out to them, this must be a QuickBooks problem, that someone that uses the product day in, day out isn't aware of this feature. Like, how have you not communicated this strongly enough with someone that keeps up to date with most of your communications? So yeah, like, I'm fully aware of bookkeeping reviews. We've been using them for years. And when you go into each individual client and stuff, and where you can see all that data, but I wasn't aware of this bookkeeping review tab at this point on QBO Accountant.
Yeah,
So,
and it's a shame, isn't it? It is a shame.
it's got so much potential here.
Yeah, we just need the view to be better. We need to be able to filter it, and we need to have more information coming out of us. And I think, yeah, because it's got that opportunity to give us that bit that we need, that next step. We need to know where we are. So,
and
yeah,
if in that cog at the top you just had boxes of options that you could tick to say what do you want to see here?
Yeah,
because then everyone can customize that view to suit them.
Yeah,
like the lead name doesn't really bother me, but number of transactions to be reconciled, I'd want to see that.
Yeah, I mean, lead name was a step in the right direction because it gave us some filtering options. I'm pretty sure from the filter there, you can then filter by leads, can't you, and bring just their subset of clients down. So it gave us some options, but we still need that next step. We need to do it. And you're probably the same as me. You've got so many licenses in there that aren't either being utilized or dead licenses or whatever. The list is a mess at this point in time. Yeah. It's not, we need a way of being able to clean it up and go from there. So yeah, so they started on that one, which, I mean, you've proven exactly why they started on that one, because not enough people know about it. I think sometimes me and Ash we take it for granted, don't we? Because we teach it day in, day out, that people don't know about it, don't we, Ash? It's a tricky one sometimes. And then they went on from there, and this is one where got a comment. I saw one of the comments going about how they're showing the banking screen and bringing up the grouping option just here and everything else. But again, I think me and Ash will take this for granted. Like we train it every day, and it's one of the ones we shout about and we love. But it is going to be one of those that not many people know about, do they? And people need to know about the grouping because it is a huge time saver if done right. Yeah,
definitely.
Cool. So yeah, they went into that one, but it was all based around basically books review, how they could do the mapping of it. It did make me laugh that he chose ATM, so cash out, and then he's there talking about it being courier with 20% on. I mean, that was just my OCD going a bit mental at that point. But then went back to books review and how it is. Now, my only criticism of this whole bit here, and I think this is where QuickBooks needs to do better in these sort of situations, is not shouting about the best part of the product or the best bit, not building that hype about it. Because they're there talking about open issues and how you can tick these bits and how you got the waiting section. And then they did a really good bit about, you can go client review and stuff, where they didn't tick the boxes to then show that there is a client that you could then send that client request off based on those transactions. And for me, that's the hype bit. That's the bit that should be like, look, this is where we can save you time. You're not having to recreate what that transaction is. You're not having to write out 24th of the 9th, 2022, ATM, courier, whatever the details are going to be. You tick a box and it goes. And we all know that in principle, that solution is amazing. Practically, it's not quite there yet. We still need to work with them to find better ways to be able to get that to work for us as a practice. But again, if not, people are clicking that button and sending it off and getting requests and going through the pain of it all, it's never going to get to that next bit. So I think here was a perfect opportunity to go, look, this is what it does. And if you remember when we did it, Ash, in the research, we then went in and we showed what they could see, couldn't we? When we were showing what the customer could see and how or the client could see, and how the client has this really wonderful view where they don't need to know QuickBooks. They're just being asked the information there. So I felt like it's a little bit of a missed opportunity. I don't know what you guys did you all see that?
The training team could have delivered this training to a higher level and in a more impactful way than the product lead.
I'm going to pass over to you. I'm going to do a Liz Trust and pass to
This seems like a you problem.
Yeah, no, I think I said in one of our WhatsApp comments that Aaron, that on some of the things that we'd seen, it could have been sort of just delivered a little bit better. So I agree with Johann.
Yeah, I think like Jonathan did a great job. I just feel like because it was in like a cocoon, there wasn't an opportunity to say, look, you're missing this bit. This bit needs to be told because people need to know about it. And I feel that's like where I felt like there's a missed opportunity there.
Don't get me wrong. I think it's really important that the product teams that are out, the Tom Menzies, the Jonathan Valentines, that are investing day and night into these products to develop them and steer them in the right direction, that their faces are recognized with these products as the people that are developing them.
Yeah.
When it comes to delivering this bit, maybe a bit of steering from the guys that are doing the training and speaking to the accountants to a high level like you guys are would have helped.
Or a bit of both, because that's what me and Jonathan did one in the March where we both did it together. It was like we're bouncing off one of it, and that there could be a lot of benefit from that. I think what happened here, and I'm sure I'll get told if I'm wrong here, but I don't think books review was his section. I think his section's more the work papers, and he was kind of asked to put it in there. So that's probably where it is. But like these bits here are fundamental to just getting that hype, getting people excited, you know, showing people the opening balance bit. You know, no one knows about the opening balance section. Yes, again, it's broken, it's flawed at this point in time. But if no one uses it, it will never get fixed. So you need to build that hype so that then people can use it, and then the development time can be put there. So yeah, that's where I went from there. Anything else on books review? I don't think there's much more we talk about there, is there?
I think it's a fantastic tool. It just needs utilizing more by the users and the accounting firms so that it justifies further investment and development.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. And also I think there's an old file as well, because they didn't mention the fact that you can now do quarterly, which just a technical point. And then we went on to the next bit, which I know kind of is Jonathan's like baby almost, and I know this was kind of some really good bits were put in here. So work papers itself, and with an update as well about the fact we can finally bring in the tasks, and we can start bringing those through from other ones. So that was one that we spoke about a while, isn't it? And that's been brought in quite nicely. So it's good to be seeing. And it's good to see that coming through. So throughout the working papers as well, they kind of brought in some kind of enhancements there. Did make us laugh a little bit. One of the enhancements, hopefully I've got a better picture for it. Here we are. This TB view. So I'm not sure who asked for it, but there is now a trial balance view as opposed to the original view. So anyone, I'm confused. Like, what's the benefit of this one? Can anyone tell me?
I'm just thinking, I think it was like 1991. I was doing an extended trial balance on Excel, and I absolutely detested looking at one. And I wouldn't really want to look at that either, to be honest.
But the problem is the majority of people that is what they were trained to do in a textbook from ACCA or whatever governing qualification they've done. This was the view in their textbook, and God forbid they might be able to understand any other view, because that was not in their textbook. So we've now made it easier, haven't they, for the textbook readers to understand the application in real life?
I mean, for me, two things. One, it's great that, you know, feedback's going on board and they're bringing that feedback in. Again, I question where that feedback was from, because that's definitely not one of the... We've been saying some fundamental issues with this work papers that need to be sorted, and you know,
it wasn't that
perfect world. Those would be fixed before the trial balance view comes in. But the also thing that keeps coming up, and I keep getting frustrated, is where are these beginning balance figures coming from, and why can't they give us that option anywhere else? Like, why do we have to play a jiggery pokery with a trial balance to bring opening balance figures in and beginning balances? Yet they clearly know what these things are. Why can't we have a report that does that? So yeah, that's my take on it.
Well, you've got it now.
Well, we have, but we haven't, because I don't want it here. I suppose I could print it out. Could I? Yeah. I suppose I could run a report maybe and bring it out from here. But when I'm doing opening balance at it, I don't want to have to do jiggery pokery all the time to do it. And then I don't think they brought it up, but there is a new feature there. I don't know if you can subtly see that, but now we've got the approval ticks as well, which I think is a great enhancement to it. So, you know, your junior member of staff or whoever it's going to be will tick it first. You as a reviewer can then go and tick it out. So yeah, we like that completely.
Yeah, we've already built that into our workflows.
Brilliant. Have you been playing around with this much, Ashley? I suppose you've not really had a need to, have you? It's not really a...
No, I suppose I'm not really in practice as such now. And I've got one sort of big client that I have worked with for years, and I don't do the year-end stuff or anything, but I sort of pretty much prepare everything before the accountant looks at it. But I had such a way of doing things before that really worked and was really, I'm not going to change. So all of this stuff, I just wouldn't use. I had my own reports, management reports, custom reports that all show the reconciled things that I just don't use. I wouldn't use it.
And you know what though, Ash, that you've just pointed out exactly why the likes of Aaron and I then get frustrated that not enough people are using this. It's because it's come along almost too late. People like yourself have got your systems, you've got your processes. It works. It's efficient. Why would you change?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, and it's the same with all software. And whether and on that have the same thing, with apps and everything. People get used to doing the same thing, and accountants are the worst. They get stuck. They have their routine, and try to get them out of what they do is very, very difficult.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, I mean, we're lucky. We're 5 years old, and I've got a very young team who haven't got stuck in their ways. They haven't got an ideal purpose. And when we come across and we can demo this stuff to our team members, they go, okay, that enhances what we've already got. Yeah, whereas people that have been doing it a bit longer might go, well, can it do this and can it do that? They see it from the opposite side. It's like, how does this meet what I've already got? Whereas my guys are going, how does this improve what we've already got?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you've just said a great use case there, Ash. You could spend hours on this working papers and make it the cleanest set of accounts you've ever had, with every document ticked and every document uploaded, and it would be absolutely wonderful. But it has no bearing whatsoever on what your accountant or your client's accountant would do, because they can't see it, because it's for you and your practice, or your QBOA license only. Yeah. So as a use case, it wouldn't work in your position anyway. Like that, and there's going to be lots more like you, where the bookkeeper might want to prep before the accountant. Doesn't work that way in this one. So it'd be interesting to see if there's a way around that. I can't imagine there would be, but that of a solution for that one.
Yeah.
Awesome. I can't remember why I took. Oh, that's why, because we were going into pro tax, weren't we? So we're now allowed to finally talk about it. In my view, that means that the NDA has lifted to the point where at least we're showing what's publicly available. Can't say too much, but it's publicly available. This is a solution I have been playing around with and have been dying to talk about it. So pro tax. First of all, I'm sure everyone will agree with me. What about the name? So anyone want to go first on what a wonderful name it is? Or
I will just clarify for those that saw me or Jonathan talk about these tax solution in QuickBooks for limited companies at Accountex in London. You're not confused. It is a different name to what it was. It was Books to Tax, and now it's Pro Tax.
Have they said Books to Tax is officially dead? I don't think they have they? Or was that the internal chat? I don't know.
I don't know.
Do you like it though, Ash? Is it a name that grabs you?
Yeah, I mean,
as opposed to
I don't know why they called it pro tax. I don't know why they just call it tax.
Yeah, I mean, we're nitpicking, aren't we? But yeah, QuickBooks Tax. I suppose that's worse, isn't it?
Are we happy it's better than Books to Tax?
Yeah, but at least Books to Tax made sense. We're moving it to Books to Tax. It's like, I don't know. Some things they did announce, though, which was great to hear or reinforce, was the fact there's no extra fees for this one. This is accountants only, which I'm still a little bit about, but that's just, I think I'm the only one who's beaten that drum at this point in time. And it will be available on your QBOA. You can go into there, and this is what it's going to look like. So you're going to have the opportunity to bringing the information into your CT600. It's obviously going to bring data from QuickBooks. They also said that they are definitely looking into opportunities later down the line to bring other forms of data in there as well. Excel or Xero, maybe possibly something like that down the line. So that's interesting, especially for someone like you, isn't it, Johann, that's looking to hopefully, pull everything over to there, that could be quite useful.
Yeah, if they've got a API that pulls in trial balances like tax filer, tax calc, they've all got these APIs that connect to any software, pulls in the trial balance for the date frame. I don't think the building of it's going to be difficult because obviously all these softwares have already got it. Yep. It's just whether they can get access to that API of Xero, for example, or Free Agent, or whoever else they want to connect to.
Yeah. And Ash, I know you're tax filer, aren't you, just because of the wonderful price point more than anything else. But if you had the opportunity to ditch tax filer and go for something that looks like this, it'd be a no-brainer, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I probably. I only use tax filer now for a handful of sole traders.
Okay.
So, I don't really do accounts apart from my own, because I'm set up as a limited company, and probably a couple of limited companies. So because I use that for sole traders anyway, I wouldn't change. I wouldn't use QuickBooks to do my, because
there's no need, is there?
There's no need. There'd be no saving for me there. If I was able to do self-assessment and every other. And this is something I think I'd mentioned to, they might have mentioned it to Jonathan a little while ago when they were just getting general feedback. Any accounting firm, if they've got 1,000 clients and there's a mixture of partnerships, sole traders, if they've got lots of team members, one team member knows how to use that tax software very well, regardless of what it is. And now they've got to do, I've got to do my limited company tax returns in QuickBooks and my other tax returns in something else.
I suppose the argument is, though, that the other tax returns won't be around for much longer, will they? Because of ITSA. So, and you'll be able to do that within QuickBooks. So, I guess I can't imagine building a self-assessment for 1 year. That would be a bit mad, wouldn't it?
So in that case, then with ITSA coming along, possibly, I wouldn't need tax filer because I'd be doing my self-employment stuff or sole trader stuff out of whatever accounting software I'm using. So that would make sense.
Just so we know, we do have one person who likes ProTax. So 1 out of 4. That's not too bad. It's 25%. No, we're joking. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. It doesn't matter what it's called. It absolutely doesn't matter. What I do like about this functionality, though, Nick, this is a bit I was hoping to play with a little bit more during my testing, was this whole idea about creating these forms and having these forms being created out that you could just generate. I mean, to me, that could be a huge time saver. We've been looking at automating this to its nth degree. And we're having to rely on software, talking to software, and having to go to this and having to do that. We've never been able to perfectly make it. But in this, the idea would be you could have your whole client experience all through here and just make it so it's automatically generated and sent and hopefully signed as well, all through this solution. So, more than happy with that. What else did they say at this point? As you can see here, CT600, they've got other forms that they're looking to bring on. Obviously, it will come out in a very limited capability at the beginning, but they'll be adding to it as they go along. Things like directors' loans, close company loans, and things like that will be added on a pretty regular basis as we get updates for it, and R&D allowances and all that. I know it's been muted, so that's brilliant. And the big one is the fact that they want to also generate the accounts from here as well, not using the statutory accounts that are currently in working papers, but actually having some form of accounts production solution. FRS 105 is their first stab at it, but they know with QuickBooks Advanced and with other opportunities they'll be looking at 102 as well. But I mean, it will be a time saver, definitely, and I think it's going to be something we can look at hoping for, and hopefully this pushes them more to a practice management solution. So now that we can talk about it, what does everyone think about what it looks like, how it is, that sort of thing? What's everyone's initial thoughts?
I've typed out my email to taxfiler/Iris telling him to cancel my subscription. I'm ready to go.
Safe, isn't it?
I just want everything in one place. I don't want all these different options. And I think it's a real disruptor when they're turning around saying this is going to be free of charge at the moment. MTD, ITSA, self-assessment tax returns are going to be there. We've got working papers that allow us to draw up a set of accounts, whether they're limited or sole trader. We've got FS 105s, etc., all coming through here. Yeah, it ties us into one nice rounded software, especially if, as they say they're going to do, they're going to be able to bring it in, pull in TBs from other softwares. I mean, we've made no secret of the fact that our plan is, and we are doing, that every client, we've only got half a dozen on Xero, but we take their trial balance from Xero and we put it into a QuickBooks license and put it through the working papers process, etc., ready to go into TaxFiler, because TaxFiler just talks better to QuickBooks than it does Xero. Its automatic mapping of Xero is shocking at times. So it saves us more time to put it into QuickBooks, put it through the same working papers procedures we're using in QuickBooks now, and then put it through into TaxFiler. But in this case, it's going to go through into Pro Tax. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, and they teased as well, didn't they, the beta for the trial balance importer / however they're going to call it, but that whole idea of bringing a TB into QuickBooks quicker and easier. So that'll even help your process even quicker, won't it? So What do you think, Ash, aesthetically and everything else? It looks good, doesn't it?
It looks pretty good. And I get, and it should work well. I mean, you've got the direct integration. I guess it's when the whole, when it does the whole thing, the accounts for Companies House and the filing and everything there. That's the true, sort of picture as to how good it is and how easy it is to use as well. So again, and it's one of those. I suppose it'd be okay in some ways that it will be sort of free, free sort of for now. That these things do come or will always come at a price. So maybe not in 2 years, 3 years. You've only got to sort of compare the prices that accountants have to pay in the US for QuickBooks to what we're paying. It's always been drastically lower. I think eventually things will have to come around, but probably all of the software providers are the same. That it won't be until probably 2026 where the next all the MTD stuff is sort of kicks in, and they'll see how the market sits, and then whoever is feeling most brave will start hiking their prices up.
Yeah, I think you're right. That it'll come at some point, won't it? But yeah, while it's free, I think.
But which price are they going to hike up? They can't hike up the general retail price on the website because they're not the. If I'm just a normal business doing my books in QuickBooks, I'm not getting these tools because it's only QBO accountants that get this. So is it then a cost to have QBO accountant? Is it a cost to have? Do we keep QBO accountant free and we say we want Pro Tax and that's going to cost X amount per user or something on top of our normal subscriptions for our clients? Or do we narrow the gap between a QBO accountant's price point of wholesale and the retail one?
I don't want to give them ideas, but I think that's where it will come down to, won't it? Because they did that in America. That's exactly what they did. So
I have no issue with that one because it's still cheaper to buy a license through me than it is to go direct to QuickBooks. So as long as as long as there is a difference there, I'm passing that cost onto my customer one way or another.
Yeah.
So if I'm paying £12 now and I've now got to pay £15, but to go direct to QuickBooks is going to cost them £20 a month, then it's actually easier for me to pass on that £15 than it would be QuickBooks is 10 now, plus the cost of TaxFiler as a proportion. Like, how do you pass that on? So actually, it could make it easier to
justify,
reprice your software to the point that you're actually passing on the cost of your accounts production software that you can't really do today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was talking to a US accountant last week who now refuses to pay for the subscription on behalf of their clients because of the different options they have there.
And
So
they have the revenue sharing as well.
they will introduce a business to QuickBooks, and they'll receive sort of a commission off the back of that.
Yeah.
And that is because in America they've been increasing their prices a lot. It could be 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah.
And if you, as the accountant, have a subscription in place where you're charging your client, say, 20 quid a month for a QuickBooks license, and now it's gone up, you've now got to say, well, how much am I charging my client? I've got to go in, I've got to change my recurring invoice and whatever it is. And if they've got payroll on there or other features, I've got to go in there and change that. Sometimes it's probably not worth all the aggro. Just let the client pay for their own subscription.
That's really easy for us because we can, in the UK at the moment, we can pass on the direct billing, the cost of the license.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if can you do that in Xero? I know a lot of Xero users have said that if they're looking at billing clients paying directly for Xero because they're fed up of having to put the invoices up and having those pain points of it's gone up again. It's gone up again.
I suppose from a client point of view, you don't get that discount for as long, do you? That's always the direct billing. That's always the argument for that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just conscious of time, so let's make sure we get the last bits on. Then we looked at QuickBooks Advanced. So again, we've kind of already covered this. Bits were brought in. They didn't bring in what I was very surprised of, and first of all, there's a confusion over overview. I think even we were blindsided by this one because at first I was like, "What do you mean overview's new? We've had overview for a long time." No, the client view has finally got overview now, haven't they? So they can see this as an advanced user, which actually is a really good benefit to them. Actually, we saw reclassification was there, but yeah, having that overview is actually quite something we should be singing a lot, shouting at the rooftops on about, I think. And that's really all I got for the advanced bit. The rest of it, the bits that we're showing you, were really stuff we knew about batch add-in that we talked about the last week or last month it was. And that is definitely coming to the new bar, so that's good to see. I did ask a question at the end if the subscriptions thing was something new. QuickBooks Advanced, should I have seen that? Which again we talked about last month. They said that's not a QuickBooks Advanced feature. He was not even aware of it. So that gives me hope that subscription, whatever subscription is going to be, if you remember, it is in the sales section, in the customer section, that subscription thing looks like it's for the whole of QuickBooks and not just for Advanced. So that's good news, because my assumption was it was going to be a one. He did actually say, I did write it down, what his or what their roadmap was looking like. Let's have a look at this. So they want to make sure it's fast paced. So the updates they want to bring to QuickBooks Online, they want to be bringing out sharp and quick, which is good to hear. Obviously they've got the batch options to look at in more detail, and they're going to enhance that one to bring that through. They want to look at the idea of possibly bringing that to bills and expenses as well. And also they want to look at custom roles and make sure that they can absolutely nail the custom roles. So there's features and stuff they're going to bring in there. And then finally, they talked about the fact that they want to look at group companies, which is something I know Johann kind of brought up when we went to Accountex. So that's good to hear. Multiple companies and all that sort of stuff. And then their final thing they want to do with Advance is to make sure that they bridge the gap to anything that QuickBooks Desktop currently has and QuickBooks Online doesn't. So that's got to be positive news that they're putting some enhancements into there. So all good. My questions were asked about the US stuff coming into parity. Looks like that's going to happen. So it seems like there's some sort of special deals with US. So things like your advanced apps with Amazon and Square and the Google Drive integration, all that sort of beauty that's in QuickBooks over in US. Looks like it's going to be US only. So it's a shame, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. Anything else on QuickBooks Advanced? I don't think they really brought anything spectacular. It's more of a this is what it is, isn't it, than anything else.
I don't think there's anything in there we've not covered before. I was surprised how final he sounded about the advanced apps, because considering we're only 2 or 3 months into a product launch here, like who knows where it's going to be in the next 5 years. I don't know if he was just talking about the next 6 months roadmap or something. I didn't really get a context of time on the roadmap. He was talking about those features.
I hope was it.
Yeah, but yeah, I was surprised he was so final about no. I was expecting him to go, it might, it's something we've got a post-it note next to the roadmap for.
Exactly, yeah.
But yeah,
speaking of roadmap, I just also go for it.
There was nothing announced here today that we haven't covered on this show
No.
several times.
And maybe
now.
even more enthusiastic as well, but that's one thing of a conversation. One thing I do want to bring up though, on just going back to the corporation tax, was the roadmap. February is what they're putting there. Line in the sand for this to be available to the general public, which I'm going to be completely honest is optimistic, but let's hope that they've got a good enough team to be able to pull that off. So yeah, let's be optimistic and be optimistic that's going to come out. But if it is true and that is February, I think that's absolutely huge. So yeah. Then we had a look at so we saw this one again. Another time to look at the same one, and then we saw this one again. So yeah, brought them on out. But then we had a quick look at what it looks like. I tried to find what it looked like last year to compare it. This is looking so much better. There was nothing wrong with it last year, but they've obviously had time to bring that through and show this and everything else. Again, the questions I asked and the bits that I was prodding for was because they gave a roadmap. I don't know if I got a copy of the roadmap anywhere. Did I get a copy of the roadmap? I don't think I did. But the roadmap was talking about how they are looking to make sure that the things we expect to see are going to be there. So the ability to have multiple, or at least look at the idea of having multiple properties and that sort of thing, and splitter properties and all that complicated stuff that's kind of still up in the air when it comes to ITSA. But the bit that they really kind of stopped or clarified on was this ITSA. So I asked for where's ITSA error checker gone, or why is that not on the roadmap sort of idea. That's the question I proposed to them. And it was interesting because they're saying that they're going to drop the phrase ITSA error checker and become more of a general error checker, which I, very much in favor for. Maybe bring that into books, the books section or something like that, the monthly supports area or something on those lines. So I thought that was a really interesting conversation and update there. So it's not been dropped. It's just that it's not going to be just for it's a thing anymore. It's going to be more general, which I think is great to see, and more opportunity to be able to check errors and clean data is going to be better for everyone, isn't it? It's for landlords was officially announced. Basically, they're changing the chart of accounts.
Yeah,
and that's it. That's their whole ITSA for landlords. Okay, moving on. Yeah, so they're changing the chart, and then they just gave us a little bit of an insight into what it kind of looks like in the end of year procedure, how the final declaration is going to look like. So a little bit there. I did try and ask what's going to happen with things like capital allowances and stuff like that. Are they promoting someone like Net Trackers? What I wrote on the actual question didn't get answered, but yeah, I did try and push that one there. But yeah, there's going to be items like that. They have definitely confirmed though that at this point in time they still haven't found a solution, which is 12 months on now, which is worrying, to having non or disallowable expenses. They don't know what they're going to do with that. They still say push it to drawings and pretend it never happened. And yeah, I think really that's it. And then I just thought, let's just show Johann one more time because that's what happened last time, and that's what it looked like before. So if you kind of compare what income self-tax, what it's looked like before to what it is now, I think we're in a really clean place. Which we, again, start of the show, we knew the software was going to be good. We knew that their experience was going to be good. We knew it was going to be client first and make sure the client was going to know what they're doing. And if they're going to file it themselves, everyone's going to be happy. What we still don't know is how they're going to support us as accountants. Any thoughts on the ITSA bit, gentlemen?
They've obviously had a graphics designer sort that UTR user interface out now, which is looking much nicer. much more in keeping with what we expect out of QuickBooks, I think. But yeah, I've had quite a few chats with Simon at Brobant's, who've been doing all the work on this with them as a testing guinea pig, and he's been really complimentary of it, saying, yeah, it's quick, it's efficient, it files, it's as painless as filing a VAT return. It's just your process is up to the point of filing that you need to look at and work on.
Which is fair enough, isn't it? That's what it is. What do you think, Ash? It looks good, doesn't it? It looks probably what we were expecting, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it should be like, I think Ash really just said it. Really, it should be nice and simple, and really no different to filing VAT. So, but it's only as good as the data that you've got in there, and that's what it all boils down to at the end of the day. That's going to be the difficult thing with all this MTD, is making sure you've got the data in there that you need, and not just trying to fudge it, basically.
It boils down to those. It's the changing the habits of the client again.
Yeah.
Like, ultimately, we as an accounting firm can change the frequency of which we do a service from annual to quarterly. That's fine. It's like changing from an annual VAT return to a quarterly one. You do it 4 times, and the reminder comes up 4 times. But there's no point of us doing it this often if the clients aren't getting their data to us. And the problem's going to be changing that habit, and then the time it's going to take for us to chase those clients to do it. So at which point do you start filing, just pressing file, even though there's limited, not all the data's there, just because it saves the client getting fined and you being moaned at? Yeah,
completely right. And yeah, they're the bits that we've yet to find any kind of support with or anything else, as we've already said. So we'll see what we get from it. But no, I think it's fine. I mean, it is what we expected it to be, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they're just reinforcing it and just giving us a bit of a pat on the back that everything's going to be okay on that respect. Which, honestly, that was never going to be the issue, was it? There was always going to be a solution. Maybe the solution was great at the beginning, and we shouted enough to get it fixed afterwards, but it looks like straight out the gate we're gonna have a good solution from day one, so it's good to see. And that was QuickBooks Connect. They ended on MTD ITSA. They started on MTD ITSA, and they put it in the middle with MTD ITSA as well, which is fair enough. So overall, I think we've all kind of had our opinions on it, haven't we? There was one big announcement that they didn't talk about, though, which shocked me. And I don't know how I'm going to show this because it won't let me bring the screen over. But in fact, I'll just put it in for you. But there was one big change to QuickBooks Online, and I'm going to try and put it down here as much as I can. Put it there. The hamburger button now has a new little arrow on it as well. And I thought that's what they were going to end with. One more thing. I thought they were going to tell everyone about this and reach out about it. But no, we now have a brand new little dash there for the hamburger button, which for me makes sense. When we used to train QuickBooks face to face, we used to have a conversation about this hamburger button, and now they've changed it and put a little arrow on, and now people actually understand what that button does. So, highly recommend people shouting about that, and maybe put some feedback into QuickBooks of how much that was a good enhancement. Any thoughts on that one? Final thoughts before we wrap up for today?
I'm speechless.
I don't know. I think if you're going to change that button, you could have changed it to completely.
Do not
put a no entry sign or something. Something that means or I don't know, even just the word hide. Even the word hide.
No, we like the hamburger button. We love the hamburger button, and now they've just enhanced it. One of the best features in QuickBooks has now been enhanced. That's my final thoughts on the matter.
You're going to have a T-shirt with that on, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean,
it's literally just going to be a hamburger.
So QuickBooks is greater than zero. So maybe next time that is going to be my next T-shirt. And
I feel that was QBO20.
You know what? We've had this conversation yet. We've got to go back to the drawing board on this one. Yeah, too many people think I'm saying let's go to zero, but no, it's supposed to be a greater than. So.
Yeah. Unless you're an Excel geek, you don't know that. And even the Excel geeks won't put that in context.
Wonderful. Well, with that, that is the end of today's show. Thank you, everyone who has contributed. I know we haven't kept up to date with chat. Kirsty says, end of period statement. Thank you for giving me that one. I knew I was on the tip of my tongue, honestly. We'll get there in one day. Payments will be coming, I'm sure. You're absolutely right, Kirsty. That is definitely going to be the case. Charlie would agree that EPOS or EOPS is just to ensure compliance. And yes, I can see that that's definitely right. Tax damage is a bit of icing on the cake for some. And then they're agreeing that maybe the prices won't be going up. But then, yeah, we can see a benefit overall. How this appears in QBSE, all we know is it's definitely happening. It's on their roadmap. They are going to be supporting QBSE until it dies without, any consideration for people who find QBSE so what's the right word? Insulting? Yeah. I lose sleep over QBSE. So, all right, fantastic. Gentlemen,
would you be offended by QBOSE if they've got a hamburger and a little arrow next to it?
I'd be sold then. Yeah, that's all they need to do. If they could just put the hamburger in, then you know what? I'd take it all back. Best software ever. So, Ash, have you got anything you want to push, promote, anything like that anyone should be looking forward to in your content coming up soon?
Nothing at the moment. I'm trying to think. I've done a couple of little musical videos around making tax digital. Yeah. Yesterday, MTD. It just seems so far away, but and it goes on a little bit more. So, and I've got another one coming. I haven't written the lyrics out for it yet. I'm thinking of trying to do one around Mr. Brightside.
Sold. That's it. You put that out there.
I haven't got it down yet. So
yeah, I'll put paid promotion behind it. That's what I'll do. Yeah. I'll try and figure out how to get the QuickBooks money in and push that one. They think I'm pushing advanced. No. It's Mr. Brightside to thingy. If you could do that, yeah, that's it. Sold. There'll be merch coming your way and all sorts. Johann, what have you got to promote? What are you going to push for the people of the world?
Our weekly podcast. If you've not heard people of QuickBooks Labs, Aaron and I do a weekly podcast. We go live to the nation 8:30 a.m. every Monday morning. And then the podcast drops onto your phones at 5 a.m. Wednesday if you want to listen back. But if you're listening back, you can't ask us a question live. So, yeah, join us every Monday morning for a live QuickBooks unassociated podcast. We're very generic. Ask us anything. Ask the accountants in the name. And we're not just talking to small businesses. We want to share what we do in our day-to-day lives. We want to share what it's like to work in the industry, so people that want to look at the industry as a career option can get some insights. So yeah, very broad topics.
Love it. And it's got a great shirt as well, as you can see. Johann,
fantastic,
showing now. Fantastic shirt. So yeah, brilliant. And that is it for today. So thank you each and every one of you for your questions, for your support, for your likes, for your follows and all that sort of stuff. If you're listening by the podcast, why not join us live next time, man? If you keep an eye on our Facebook page and all our other social channels, you will know when we're going live. We probably won't be back for November. We haven't decided that yet. We probably won't be back for November, probably back for December. This news is a little bit light at the moment. But we'll be making sure that whenever we're back, you guys will know first. So thank you from me.
Thank you from me.
And a thank you from me.
It's a bit longer because I'm still trying to find the outro. Cheers, everyone. Bye.
Bye.